Well, shalom, shalom. Welcome, welcome, world changers. Here we are again, another evening. We're going to get back in the book of Numbers tonight. Thank you, Hannah, for the beautiful music. That was amazing. Thank you for blessing us with your talent. Welcome, welcome, y'all. Welcome and blessings to you. Welcome, Paper Bag Man on TikTok. Chipmunk says, shalom, everyone. Doug Mark Production says, beautiful music as always. Al Throwback says, shalom to all. So happy for this. Always beautiful. Elemental says, shalom to all. Cubert says, shalom. Al says, oh, bro, glad to see you again. Miss you, Chris. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Al. And blessings and shalom multiplied to y'all and to your families. Good to see you. All right, so yeah, we're back at it, back at the book of Numbers. We're on Numbers chapter 3 tonight. I pray that everything that we share here today would be a great blessing to you, increase your knowledge of the scriptures, your knowledge of the things of heaven, your relationship with God, and your knowledge of the truth. Amen, amen, amen. Doug Mark says, how are you feeling? Well, thank you for asking, Doug Mark. Says, hope you're doing better. Thank you. Yeah, so yesterday and today, on my own accord, I wasn't, nobody told me to do this, but I decided just to go on a liquid diet, just drinking liquids and, like electrolyte kind of liquids. And I'm feeling better today than I have for a long time. So I think I'm going to stay on a liquid diet for a couple of days before I start easing myself back into a regular diet. So that's how it's going. Thank you for asking. Yeah. And thank you guys for your prayers as well. I really appreciate it. And once again, I mean, this is the only day that I felt like there's been a little bit of cramping, a little bit of pain. Like it hasn't been, I'm not completely over this yet, not completely healed yet. So keep praying and hopefully this will get completely resolved. All right. Thank you. And I appreciate y'all as well. I said this yesterday in the live stream. Really appreciate you guys praying and your kind comments and your replies in the comment section on YouTube and also on other various platforms as well. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And please keep praying as well. Okay. Payawedis. Hello. Welcome and blessings to you. Pierre, Shekinah, Curtis, Dewana, Rico, Bayboy, Joaquin, welcome. Blessings to you and yours. Yeah, okay. So, we're on the book of Numbers, and we're on Numbers chapter 3. In the meantime here, just before I get into this, if any of you have any prayer requests or any kind of things that you would like to bring to my attention, perhaps there's something on your heart, something on your mind when it comes to the things of the scriptures, please feel free to drop those in the live chat as well, and I'll get to those ASAP. I am live right now on Kick. I'm live on Facebook, Twitch, DLive, Rumble, Instagram, BitChute, X, TikTok, and YouTube. All right, so welcome and blessings. By the way, if you have any accounts on any of those platforms that I just mentioned, please go over there and look me up over there, and make sure you add me over there because who knows? I mean, I hope it never happens, but if I just disappear off of one platform, at least you know that I'm going to be, Lord willing, on one of those other platforms. If like what happened there about a week ago or so, if there's a circumstance in which I can't do a live stream any particular night, I will post on my YouTube channel in the community section, and I will also post on X as well. So yeah, just as a heads up, guys, I hope I don't have to do what I had to do last week. I hope that never happens again. But just so you know, if there's something, if you say, hey, oh, Christopher's, a little bit late here, a little bit too late coming on, or, please check the community section on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and check X as well. All right. Rick says, Shalom, Bereans. All right. Shalom, Rick. Blessings multiplied to you and yours. Okay, let's begin here. So we are on the book of Numbers, chapter 3. It says, now this is the history of the generations of Aaron and Moses in the day that the Lord spoke with Moses in Mount Sinai. Now look at this for a second. This phrase, the day. Okay, we can take this literally to say, oh, this is talking about one particular 24-hour period. I don't think this is the case here. I think that the phrase the day in this context is very much like how we would say the day in, as like, for example, like, back in the day. In my day, back in my day, this is what we did. So I think this is what it means. I don't think that it's talking about a literal 24-hour period here, but rather it's a figure of speech meaning in the time that, or in the time of, in the time that the Lord spoke with Moses in Mount Sinai. Because we know that according to the scriptures that Moses spent a lot of time on Mount Sinai. Yeah, so that's how I understand that. Verse 2, it says, these are the names of the sons of Aaron, Nadab, the firstborn. I will, for the sake of conventional naming here, I know it's like Nadav, in the Hebrew, but for the sake of just the conventional English pronunciation, I'm going to say Nadab and Abihu as opposed to Nadav and Abihu, but I might mix it as I go as well. So Nadab or Nadav, or Nadab, as some people might say, the firstborn, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. These are the names of the sons of Aaron, the priests who were anointed, whom he consecrated to minister in the priest's office. Nadab and Abihu died before the Lord when they offered strange fire before the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai, and they had no children. Eleazar and Ithamar ministered in the priest's office in the presence of Aaron, their father. So we read about this several days ago, a couple weeks ago now, I think it was, the whole situation where Nadab and Abihu were consumed by the fire of God, and what exactly that meant, and was it really fire, literal fire, or figuratively speaking? So we spoke about that there several days ago. Verse 5, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, bring the tribe of Levi near, and set them before Aaron the priest, that they may minister to him. They shall keep his requirements and the requirements of the whole congregation before the tent of meeting, to do the service of the tabernacle. They shall keep all the furnishings of the tent of meeting and the obligations of the children of Israel to do the service of the tabernacle. You shall give the Levites to Aaron and to his sons. They are wholly given to him on behalf of the children of Israel. You shall appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall keep their priesthood, but the stranger who comes near shall be put to death. Verse 11, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, behold, I have taken the Levites from among the children of Israel instead of all the firstborn who open the womb among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine, for all the firstborn are mine. On the day that I struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I made holy to me all the firstborn in Israel, both man and animal. They shall be mine. I am the Lord. The Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, saying, count the children of Levi by their fathers' houses, by their families. You shall count every male from a month old and upward. Moses counted them according to the Lord's word as he commanded. These were the sons of Levi by their name: Gershon, Kohath, Merari. These are the names of the sons of Gershon by their families: Libni and Shimei. The sons of Kohath by their families: Amram, Ishar, Hebron, Uziel. The sons of Merari by their families: Mahli and Mushi. These are the families of the Levites according to their fathers' houses. Of Gershon of Gershon was the family of the Libnites, and the family of the Shimites. These are the families of the Gershonites. Those who were counted of them according to the number of all the males from a month old and upward, even those who were counted of them, were 7,500. The families of the Gershonites shall encamp behind the tabernacle westward. Eliasaph, the son of Lael, shall be the prince of the father's house of the Gershonites. The duty of the sons of Gershon in the tent of meeting shall be the tabernacle, the tent, its covering, the screen for the door of the tent of meeting, the hangings of the court, the screen for the door of the court, which is by the tabernacle around the altar, and its cords for all its service. Of Kohath was the family of the Amramites, the family of the Isharites, the family of the Hebronites, the family of the Uzielites. These are the families of the Kohathites, according to the number of all the males from a month old and upward. There were 8,600 keeping the requirements of the sanctuary. The families of the sons of Kohath shall encamp on the south side of the tabernacle. The prince of the fathers' houses of the families of the Kohathites shall be Elisaphan, the son of Uziel. Their duty shall be the ark, the table, the lampstand, the altars, the vessels of the sanctuary with which they minister, the screen, and all its service. Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, shall be prince of the princes of the Levites, with the oversight of those who keep the requirements of the sanctuary. Of Merari was the family of the Mahlites, and the family of the Mushites. These are the families of Merari. Those who were counted of them, according to the number of all the males from a month old and upward, were 6,200. There's a footnote here. And the footnote says 22,000 is the sum rounded to two significant digits. The sum of the Gershonites, Kohathites, Merarites, given above is 22,300. But the traditional Hebrew text has the number rounded to two significant digits, not the three significant digits. So that's interesting there. So we got a little bit of a numbering discrepancy there, which is of no surprise. We see this so often throughout the scriptures, not only within the text, any given text itself, but amongst the different manuscripts as well. We have discrepancies between the numbers. So mathematically speaking, for example, I'm thinking about the basin there in Kings, where it says that the basin has a diameter of 10 cubits and a circumference of 30 cubits, but it can't. I mean, mathematically speaking, if you want to be accurate, it would be 31 cubits point, whatever pi is, right? So it'd be 31 and plus cubits, but it doesn't say that in the scriptures. It says just simply 30 cubits. So this teaches us, this shows us that we should not be too overly sticky when it comes to, being too literal when it comes to the scriptures, because it is variant. It is variant, and we see that so much in the Numbers, more so. And I'm not talking about the book of Numbers, but rather the numbers that we have, like for example, the census numbers and the numbers of those as were counted here in in Numbers chapter 3, and also the numbers of the people and the men and the armies and the horses and all those kind of numbers that we read of in First and Second Chronicles as well. There's a lot of differences. There are contradictions there. There are, especially between the manuscripts. But also, we also have contradictions in any given Bible with the same manuscript. You know, we'll get to that when we get to that. We actually did this a couple years ago, and I think some of you were with me back then when we compared like First and Second Kings, First and Second Chronicles, and compared the numbers. And some of the numbers are way off, talking about the exact same thing, but the numbers are way off. But that's okay, because that just teaches. We learn that it's not super perfect, and we shouldn't take it super literally. You know, not that it's all in error. Don't get me wrong, but you know, we should read it a little bit more loosely than originally thought. Okay. I'll finish up the rest of this chapter, then I'll get into the live chat with you guys. Okay, so yeah, thank you for your understanding, guys. Let me just finish up this rest of this chapter. I'll get to the live chat and I'll answer some of your questions there. Okay, so verse 33 says, oh, actually, sorry, we read that. Verse 35. The prince of the fathers' houses of the families of Merari was Zuriel, the son of Abihail. They shall encamp on the north side of the tabernacle. The appointed duty of the sons of Merari shall be the tabernacle's boards, its bars, its pillars, its sockets, all its instruments, all its service, the pillars of the court around it, their sockets, their pins, and their cords. Those who encamp before the tabernacle eastward in the front of the tent of meeting toward the sunrise shall be Moses with Aaron and his sons, keeping the requirements of the sanctuary for the duty of the children of Israel. The outsider who comes near shall be put to death. All who were counted of the Levites, whom Moses and Aaron counted at the commandment of the Lord by their families, all the males from a month old and upward were 22,000. Verse 40. The Lord said to Moses, count all the firstborn males of the children of Israel from a month old and upward, and take the number of their names. You shall take the Levites for me. I am the Lord, instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and the livestock of the Levites instead of the firstborn among the livestock of the children of Israel. Moses counted as the Lord commanded him, all the firstborn among the children of Israel, all the firstborn males according to the number of names from a month old and upward of those who were counted of them were 22,273. Notice how specific this number is, right? A lot of times we don't get specificity like this. Well, maybe we should check the other manuscripts to see how well it jives with this. Verse 44, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take the Levites instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and the livestock of the Levites instead of their livestock, and the Levites shall be mine. I am the Lord. For the redemption of the 273 of the firstborn of the children of Israel who exceed the number of the Levites, you shall take 5 shekels apiece for each one. According to the shekel of the sanctuary, you shall take them. The shekel is 20 gerahs. You shall give the money with which their remainder is redeemed to Aaron and to his sons. Moses took the redemption money from those who exceeded the number of those who were redeemed by the Levites. From the firstborn of the children of Israel, he took the money, 1,365 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. And Moses gave the redemption money to Aaron and to his sons according to the Lord's word, as the Lord commanded Moses. Okay, a couple things here. You know, a lot of times we have this phrase, as the Lord commanded Moses. And we read this several times before as we were reading through Exodus and Leviticus. But it doesn't, it says, as the Lord commanded Moses. Now, here we know what it's talking about, because this is talking about the quote-unquote atonement money that the Lord commanded Moses in Exodus chapter 30. But many times it says, as the Lord commanded Moses, but there's nowhere in the scriptures where it says the Lord commanded Moses. Like, it doesn't say, like, for example, in Exodus chapter 30, it says the Lord spoke to Moses and instructed Moses how to gather the atonement money and what that was for and how that all worked. So that's what this is talking about. But there are many times throughout the Torah where it says, as the Lord commanded Moses, but it doesn't tell us anywhere that the Lord actually commanded Moses. Like, you know, offer these sacrifices as the Lord commanded Moses. And everybody just assumes that it's there. But a lot of times it's not there. Like, it's not there in writing. And this is why the Jews would argue that this is what the oral Torah is for. The oral Torah is the tradition, or the traditions and teachings that have been handed down throughout the generations that were not written. You know, so that we have a lot that's written in the Torah, but we have a whole lot more that's not written in the Torah. Reminds me of the Gospel of John, where it's like we have a lot written in the Gospel of John, but we have a whole lot more not written in the Gospel of John, as the Gospel of John itself says about the life of Yeshua. Okay, so see what we have here in the live chat before we get into. So you know what? I'll have you guys on YouTube. Let's do another poll. Those of you who are on other platforms like TikTok or Rumble and some of the other platforms, just let me know in the live chat what you think. But the question is, would you like to compare the manuscripts, or at least the Septuagint? With these numbers. Like, anyways, I'll put this poll up here. Let me know what you like, what you want. If you vote yes, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to split the screen in half like I've done many times before, and I'll have one side the Septuagint, which is the older text, by the way, and then on the other side I'll have the newer text, and we'll compare. Do the numbers actually jive? Are they the same? Let me know what you think there over on YouTube. And if you're on another platform, just let me know in the live chat there. If you are on X or Rumble, I may or may not be able to see your live chat. Just let me see here if I can confirm what's going on here. I may or may not be able to see it. I hope I am. Especially X, because it's so new. It's new here, so. Anyways, so let's see what we have here in the live chat. Piowedi says, Protestantism, like the modern world, is built upon mere negation, and one can see it in one more example, and a most striking one, of the state of anarchy and dissolution that has arisen from this negation of principles, that is, the essence of individualism. Quote by Renee. Okay, all right. Thank you. You know, I think that each branch of Christianity has its pros and cons, each one. I think that the Orthodox is probably more historical, the most historical. Roman Catholics are more historical in the sense of I mean, they're not right on with the Torah, that's for sure. But I mean, like, as there's more history behind the Protestant or the Roman Catholic Church than there is the Protestants. Yeah, thank you, Peyoeti. Barbara says, I have a hard time following the family trees in the Bible. It's confusing for me. Do you know a way to help me understand it better? Or is there any good books to help me with this? Very good question, Barbara. Thank you for asking. The short answer is no. Unfortunately, there's no real easy way to go about it, and for a number of reasons, because there's so much. First, I remember years ago I set out to actually draft out a family tree from the scriptures. From Adam and Eve all the way down. I set out to do that myself, and it's very, very hard. Let me put it that way. It's very hard to do that. So, and then the problem is, the one problem is the vastness of it, and it's just so much to it. There's so many names and so many, you'll be, you'd have to have a huge poster for that. Another thing is too, the discrepancies amongst the different manuscripts is the problem as well. So it's like you'd have to determine, okay, this is the family tree according to the Masoretic text. This is the family tree according to the Septuagint, and they'd be different. This is the family tree according to the... And by the way, did you know that the family tree according to the New Testament is different than the family tree according to the Old Testament? Yeah, so we dealt with that before as well. Now, that was in the Gospel of Matthew, as far as I can remember, where it inserts another whole generation into the family tree that's not in the quote-unquote Old Testament. So there you got those problems as well. So it's not, and then the genealogy of, let's say, Luke, or was it Luke? I said Matthew. The genealogy of Luke contradicts the genealogy of Matthew by much. There's 15 generations more in the Gospel of Luke. And that's not to mention that the extra little, the extra generation that's shoehorned in there, that is not found in your Old Testament. So it is a very confusing thing. It is, Barbara. What I would do is, like, if you're going to do a study, for example, of any particular person in the scriptures, I would narrow it down to that. I would just say, okay, this particular person, we're going to study the genealogies of, let's just say, Abraham, and then go from there, right? So you study the genealogy of Abraham according to the Masoretic text, and then according to the Septuagint, and compare it like that. So it's a lot easier to really focus on one specific individual as opposed to doing a whole, the whole family tree. That would be my recommendation, Barbara. It's a very good question. Thank you for asking. Matthew says, been looking for you. Shalom. Hello, Matthew. Blessings multiplied to you and yours. Yeah, I've been away for several days. I've been experiencing some lower abdominal pain and that kind of stuff going on, and was in the hospital for not a long time, just a part of a day, and taking it easy here. So I'm just on the tail end of it. Matthew, if you ever wonder what happened to me, check out my YouTube channel on the community posts on my YouTube channel, because I keep everybody up to date there, as well as on X as well. So, okay, so Tiffany asked the question. Thank you, Matthew, by the way. Thank you. I appreciate that. Tiffany says, why do they call the book Numbers? Well, yeah, thank you, Tiffany. Here's the thing. In the English, it's called Numbers. In the Hebrew, it's not called Numbers. It's called Bamidbar, which means the wilderness. So in the Hebrew, in the original Hebrew, if you will, it's got a completely different name. I would suppose that the reason why it's named Numbers in English is because of the fact that there are so many different numbers, if you will, in the book of Numbers, enumerations and census and all those kind of things. So yeah, and it's called Bamidbar, which means wilderness in the Hebrew, because this is talking about their journey through the wilderness. Thank you, Tiffany. Seek the Lord says, Shalom, Shalom. Seek the Lord, welcome and blessings multiplied to you and your family. Matthew says, yes, compare. Okay. Dom Rocks Music says, hello, hello, hello. Welcome and blessings. Says, how are you, brother? I'm doing much better than I was last week. Thank you for asking. Dom says, yeah, my Protestant friend said one of the genealogy is of Mary. Yeah, I've been told that as well. And I actually believe that for a little while, until it just dawned on me. How people, we were all like this in a way, right? It's like, Luke is about Mary's genealogy, and Matthew's about Joseph's genealogy. Until you actually read the text, they both say Joseph. They don't say Mary. There's no Mary in there at all. And by the way, the parents of Mary, historically speaking, was not the parents of quote unquote Joseph in the Gospel of Luke. Historically speaking, the parents of Mary, Anna and Jehoiakim. Okay, so that's not what we have for the father of quote unquote Joseph in Luke. So the whole thing about Mary is in one gospel and Joseph's in the other for genealogies. It just doesn't work. It's just, they're just making it up, making it up just to make it work. Matthew says, so glad to see you. Thank you, Matthew. Glad to be here. Dom says, yeah, it feels like they're caught in the inerrancy thing, but to each their own. Yeah, thank you, Dom. Dom, that's what it is. Exactly, you got it. Whenever it comes to the scriptures, every controversy, every controversial thing, every argument boils down to one of two things. It's either the Bible canon and the worship of that Bible canon, or the veneration of that Bible canon, or it's got to do with literal versus figurative. Yeah, you check it out. Show me one argument where it doesn't boil down to one of those two things. It's either literal versus figurative, or it's got to do with the Bible canon. And so, the whole thing about making Mary, making it work by saying that Mary is in one genealogy whereas Joseph's in the other genealogy, because they have to say something in order to support their veneration of their Bible canon, because they claim that it's inerrant, there's no errors in it whatsoever, no contradictions, and so they have to make it work. I would rather have the truth as opposed to, worshiping a Bible canon. Thank you, Dom, again. Dom says, I feel like definitions cause a lot of friction too. Well, yeah, I mean, you could be right there. Here's a question though. When it comes to a definition, doesn't it usually have to do with whether you take it literally or whether you take it figuratively? I think that's what it is normally. That's typically the case. Rick says, Bamidbar, in the wilderness or desert. Yes. Dom says, yeah, true. Okay. Barbara says, thanks for the help. Thank you for your question, Barbara. I appreciate it. Rick says, if it was a virgin birth, why is the patriarchal lineage to Joseph given or pertinent? Very good question. We spoke about that several times in the past few months, and we dug into that. If those of you who are listening to this, if you're interested in what I'm referring to, check out my YouTube channel. Check the Gospel of Matthew series that we did just was several months ago now. So we went through that. We also did a few other different series on the virgin birth and the baptism as well. Yeah, so check that out if you're interested. Joseph says, Shalom to all. Shalom, Joseph. Welcome and blessings. Blessings multiplied to you and yours. Dom says, I think I heard Bart Ehrman say they wanted to establish a succession from the Hebrew prophets. I never heard that. I never heard that one. Yeah. All right, thanks, Dom. Okay, let's see how the poll is doing here. What do we got going on here with the poll? Are we going to compare the manuscripts, the numbers, literal numbers, between the Masoretic and the Septuagint, and maybe even the Samaritan as well, if we're really up to it? Let me see here. Where are we? Everyone says yes. Everyone says yes. Wow. Okay. Thank you for voting, guys. I appreciate that. I'll end the poll. Let me give you guys, I don't think it's going to make any difference anyway, but I'll give you guys about 15 more seconds to vote if you want to vote. Yeah, Dom says prophets, yes. Yeah. And Joseph says yes as well. Thank you. Echad, 100%. All right. 100%. Echad, that's right. You got it, Rick. You got it. 100%. 100% in unity. I like the way you use that word, echad, in unity. All right. Thank you for voting, guys. So, since this is not necessarily in the schedule per se, you're going to have to be a little bit patient with me, guys, until let me just set this up. So numbers. Chapter 3 on one side and chapter. Okay, and then we'll go for the what's that called? Brenton Septuagint. Free hugs to give. Welcome and blessings to you. Tiffany says, I didn't know that. Yeah, about the Yeah, the difference. We see this. In many ways when you compare the old Septuagint with um, the Hebrew and with the English too. It's like the names. Some of the names are completely different. The names of the books. Okay, so here we go. I have on the left hand side. This time I have the WEB translation. And I'm using this mainly because of the copyright issues that the people behind the WEB is very, very good when it comes to copyrights. Actually, they don't claim any kind of copyright at all. So God bless them for that. And then on the right-hand side, I have the Septuagint, Brenton translation of the Septuagint. Now, I'm also going to bring out the... Okay, so I also got here the Samaritan text as well. I got the Samaritan in hard copy Samaritan, and this particular one tells me. This particular one highlights the differences in, like, makes it bold, so it's easy to pick them out, whereas the other ones are not so easy. So of course there are differences. I'm just looking through the text here. There are differences. I don't see with the Samaritan, I don't see any differences with the numbers. I do see differences with the text in various places. Like, for example, in verse 9, where it says, you shall give the Levites unto Aaron and to his sons. They are wholly given unto him from the children of Israel. Whereas the Samaritan says they are given to him from within the sons of Israel. Within the sons of Israel, not from the children of Israel, but within the sons of Israel. So there's a lot of things like that. Another one is another variation. I'll just read some of this here. That we'll get to the side-by-side comparison in just a minute there on the screen. But so in verse 12 as well. In verse 12, in the Masoretic, it says, "And I, behold, I have taken the Levites from among the children of Israel instead of every firstborn that opens the womb from the sons of Israel. The Levites shall be mine." Now, the Samaritan says, there's another whole phrase in there. The Samaritan says, "And I, behold, have taken the Levites from among the sons of Israel instead of every firstborn. Their ransoms will be the first issue of the womb among the sons of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine." So that whole thing about their ransoms, that's not found in the Masoretic. By the way, the Samaritan is older than the Masoretic. A couple of little things like where it said in verse 16, just as he had commanded him, or just as he was commanded in the Masoretic, in the Samaritan is just as he had commanded him. When it comes to the duties of some of these people listed in Numbers chapter 3, there's a difference here in the Samaritan. So the Masoretic says, "And their charge," this would be from the sons of Kohath, "and their charge, the ark, the table, the candlestick, the altars, the vessels of the sanctuary, wherewith the priests minister, and the screen, and all his work thereof." The Samaritan adds, "and the laver, and its base, and all their work of it." So that's a difference there. Yeah, it's a little bit surprised that there's not so many differences with the numbers, but verse 38 is the verse 38 is the only last major difference here. There's a lot of differences, like and is left out over here but added over here, little words like that, and to, and that kind of stuff. There's lots of differences. But verse 38 in the Masoretic says, and those who were to camp before the tabernacle eastward, before the tent of meeting toward the sun rising, were Moses and Aaron and his sons, keeping the charge of the temple, even the charge of the children of Israel, and the common man that drew nigh was to be put to death. Now the Samaritan, it says, and those who were to camp unto the front of the tabernacle eastward. So in the Masoretic it says before the tabernacle, but here it says unto the front of the tabernacle, before the tent of meeting toward the sunrise, were Moshe, Aaron, and his sons, performing the duties of the holiness for the obligation of the sons of Israel. So that's quite different. The other one says, the Masoretic says, just simply keeping the charge of the temple and the charge of the children of Israel. But the Samaritan says, performing the duties of the holiness for the obligation of the sons of Israel. So that's fairly different. Now, Doug Mark says, I learned a lot by being here. That's awesome. Thank you, Doug Mark. It's good to know you're blessed by this. Okay, let's see what we have here. So, just give me a second, guys. Okay, all right. So, of course, the names are spelled a little bit different. Of course, because we got a different language, different transliteration. Okay, so instead of the Masoretic would say Abihu, Eleazar, Ithamar, whereas the Septuagint says Abiud, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Okay, we'll take this one verse at a time. Masoretic says, these are the names of the sons of Aaron, the priests who were anointed, whom he consecrated to minister in the priest's office. The Septuagint says, these are the names of the sons of Aaron, the anointed priests, whom they consecrated to the priesthood. Masoretic, verse 4, Nadab and Abihu died before the Lord when they offered strange fire before the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai, and they had no children. Eleazar and Ithamar ministered in the priest's office in the presence of Aaron their father. Septuagint, Nadab and Abihu died before the Lord when they offered strange fire before the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai, and they had no children, and Eleazar and Ithamar ministered in the priest's office with Aaron their father. Verse 5, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, bring the children, this is the Masoretic, verse 6, bring the tribe of Levi near and set them before Aaron the priest, that they may minister to him. The Septuagint, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take the tribe of Levi, you shall set them before Aaron the priest, and they shall minister to him. Verse 7, Masoretic, they shall keep his requirements and the requirements of the whole congregation of the tent of meeting to do the service of the tabernacle. Verse 7 in the Masoretic, Septuagint says, and shall keep his charges and the charges of the children of Israel before the tabernacle of witness to do the works of the tabernacle. So tabernacle of witness as opposed to tabernacle of meeting, right? So there's a couple differences there. Verse 8, and we saw that before, guys, as well. Some of you might remember we saw that before when comparing the manuscripts. Verse 8, they shall keep all the furnishings of the tent of meeting and the obligations of the children of Israel to do the service of the tabernacle. Septuagint, and they shall keep all the furniture of the tabernacle of witness and the charges of the children of Israel to all the works of the tabernacle. Verse 9, Masoretic, ye shall give the Levites to Aaron and to his sons. They are wholly given to him on behalf of the children of Israel. Septuagint, you shall give the Levites to Aaron and to his sons. They are given for a gift to me of the children of Israel. Give me a second, guys. Okay. Verse 10, you shall appoint, this is Masoretic, you shall appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall keep their priesthood, but the stranger who comes near shall be put to death. Septuagint, and you shall appoint Aaron and his sons over the tabernacle of witness. Wait a second, that's quite a bit different, isn't it? Look at that. I mean, so verse 10 of the Masoretic says, you shall appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall keep their priesthood. But the stranger who comes near shall be put to death. Now you see, look at the difference here. In the Septuagint, there's a lot more to this. In the Septuagint, on your right-hand side there, highlighted in blue, it says, and you shall appoint Aaron and his sons over the tabernacle of witness. Now, that's not in the Masoretic at all. And they shall keep their charge of priesthood. So that's basically there. In the Masoretic, it says they shall keep their priesthood. It doesn't say charge of priesthood, but so that's added there as well, a little bit more, or I should say, from the Masoretic, it could be taken away, as opposed, because the Septuagint is older than the Masoretic. The people who lived in the first century, the authors of the New Testament, seem to have gone by a manuscript that more aligns with the Septuagint many times than it does to the Masoretic. Anyways, the last part of that verse of the Septuagint, it says, and all things belonging to the altar and within the veil, and the stranger that touches them shall die. Look at that. So all of that's added. Look at not added. Again, is the glass half full or half empty? Which way you want to look at it. But somebody either added or took it out of the scriptures. Lots of stuff here. So what was taken out? What's the difference? Well, over the tabernacle of witness is not found in the Masoretic, that whole phrase. Charge of is not found in the Masoretic, that phrase. All things belonging to the altar and within the veil, that's not found in the Masoretic at all. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Differences, people. Verse 11. Well, you know what? Let's see what we have in the Samaritan. I know it wasn't explicitly. The Samaritan, just looking at it here, it's pretty much like the Masoretic. So the Samaritan is an old text as well, arguably as old as, or perhaps even older than the Septuagint. So why would the Septuagint have all of these extra words and phrases and all this extra stuff in it, and the Samaritan not? Well, it's either they added it or they had a different manuscript, a different Hebrew manuscript that they used to translate into Greek. The Septuagint is a Greek translation of an ancient Hebrew manuscript. And I'm quite confident to say that the evidence that we have is that the Hebrew manuscript that was used to translate into Greek, the Septuagint, was different than the Hebrew manuscript that we have today. So why is a Samaritan on this one verse? The Samaritan is different on many other things, but why is the Samaritan pretty much the same as the Masoretic on this one verse? Well, maybe the Samaritan came from, or the Masoretic came from a branch of that. There might have been a certain branch, or if you want to call it root, of the manuscripts and the manuscript transmission that left that the way it was this way. And maybe the Septuagint used more of an ancient or more of an accurate text. Or maybe it's the other way around. Who knows? Who knows which version, or what would you call it? Like, which revision, if you will, is accurate. Let's move on, guys. Verse 11, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Behold, I have taken the Levites from among the children of Israel instead of all the firstborn who opens the womb among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. Septuagint, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Behold, I have taken the Levites from the midst of the children of Israel. Instead of every male that opens the womb from among the children of Israel, they shall be their ransom. What? They shall be their ransom, and the Levites shall be mine. So there we got another one. They shall be their ransom. That's not found in the Masoretic either. Now, this time, in the Samaritan, it does say their ransoms will be. So this is what I read earlier. The ransoms will be the first issue of the womb among the sons of Israel. So it does say ransom in there. So here we got 2 verses 1. The Samaritan and the Septuagint both have the ransom thing in there, whereas the Masoretic doesn't. You might say, well, what does this have to do with us, and why compare the manuscripts? Well, most English Bible translations today is based from the Masoretic. KJV, NIV, NASB, CSB, most of them are all based on the Masoretic. So the Masoretic is the common, at least the Western text, if you will. Whereas the Septuagint is not so common, at least not in the West, but it's older. So the Septuagint, what we're reading here, was purportedly translated approximately 2,250 years ago, whereas the Masoretic was a lot younger than that. And the Samaritan is, the book that I have here is an English translation of the Hebrew Samaritan. So the Samaritan is Hebrew. The original Samaritan is Hebrew. But I'm reading from the English translation of that Hebrew. Yeah, so it's three of the main manuscript families, although there are others such as the Syriac and the Vulgate, and Dead Sea Scrolls, that kind of stuff as well. Okay, let's move on. Verse 13. It says, "For all the firstborn are mine." This is from the Masoretic. "All the firstborn are mine. On the day that I struck down all the firstborn of the land of Egypt, I made holy to me all the firstborn of Israel, both man and animal. They shall be mine. I am the Lord." Septuagint says, "For every firstborn is mine. In the day that in which I smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified to myself every firstborn in Israel, both of man and beast. They shall be mine. I am the Lord." So very similar, slightly different. Verse 14, "The Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, saying, Count." Here we go, guys. We're going to get into the numberings here. Count the children of Levi by their fathers' houses, by their families. You shall count every male from a month old and upward. Septuagint, verse 14 and 15. "And the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai," or Sinai, S-I-N-A, Sinai, saying, "Take the number of the sons, not children, but sons of Levi, according to the houses of their families, according to their divisions." So it doesn't say divisions in the Masoretic. "Number them, every male from a month old and upwards." Wow. Okay. Verse 16, we got the Masoretic says, "Moses counted them according to the Lord's word as he commanded." And in the Septuagint it says, "And Moses and Aaron numbered." Wait a second. Moses and Aaron? See that, guys? So we got Aaron included in the Septuagint, but not in the Masoretic. Isn't that interesting? Moses and Aaron numbered them by the word of the Lord, as the Lord commanded them. So it's consistent putting "commanded them," whereas the Masoretic says, "as he," singular, "was commanded." All right. Verse 17. "These were the sons of Levi by their names, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari." In the Septuagint, "And these were the sons of Levi by their names, Gedson, Gedson, Kaath, Caath, and Merari." See how the names are, and this is what we always get, and this is what we were talking about there the other day. We always get this, the names, the spellings, the pronunciations of the names vary vastly from one manuscript to the other. That's another thing too, right? So when it comes to pronouncing a name, we have to ask what manuscript, what culture, what time, what age. Is it even possible to know exactly how this was pronounced back in the day? Seeing that we have so many variants in the Samaritan as well. Let's see what we have in the Samaritan. Yeah, so different. So the name... So Gedson in the Septuagint is Gershon, Girshone, in the Samaritan. And Kohath in the Masoretic is Kot, or Qat in the Samaritan. Qat. Merari is spelt pretty different here. Meh, May, R-A-A, Ra, Re, R-E-E, Merari. Shmuley says, Shalom, 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 welcome and blessings multiplied to you and your family. Mario says, hello, blessings. Hello, Mario. Blessings multiplied to you and yours. Thank you for liking the live as well over there on TikTok. Appreciate that. Wa Barak. Shmuley says it's pronounced Sena, I believe. For Mount Sena? Sena? For Mount S-I-N-A, that is. Arianok says it's the same word in different version, different styles too. Yeah, it's the same name, just different spelling, different pronunciation. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on here. Verse 18, the names of the sons of Gershon were their families Libni and Shimei. And the Septuagint said these are the names of the sons of Gedson, according to their families, Lobani and Semei. See, different spellings. So we got the consonants are the same, the L, B, and N, but the vowels are different. At least mostly different. So instead of L-I-B-N-I, it's L-O-B-E-N-I. Same with Shemai in the Hebrew, S-H. So the consonants are the same. The shin, or the sin, the Hebrew letter shin, which is one Hebrew letter, which is transliterated here as S-H. But in the Septuagint, it's just simply S. So instead of using the shin variation of it, they use the sin variation of it. Same Hebrew letter, just different variation of it. Same with the mem in Shemai, mem. Yeah, so vowels are different, but the consonants are the same. Verse 19 in the Masoretic, and the sons of Kohath by their families, Amram, Ishar, Hebron, and Uzziel. Verse 19 in the Septuagint, and the sons of Kaath, according to their families, Amram, Izahar, Hebron. So instead of Hebron, it's Hebron, Chebron, and Oziel, or Uziel. So O-Z-I-E-L in the Brenton Septuagint, where U-Z-Z-I-E-L in the Masoretic. See? So the names are very, again, with especially the vowels, not so much the consonants. Sometimes, like Gedson, you got that extra Dalit consonant in there. But verse 20, the sons of Merari by their families, Machli and Mushi. That's in the Masoretic. So the Septuagint says, the sons of Merari according to their families, Muli and Musi, Muli as in M-O-O-L-I, and Musi as in M-U-S-I. These are the families of the Levites according to the houses of their families. Okay. Oh, yeah, I missed that on the Masoretic. These are the families of the Levites according to their fathers' houses. So it says fathers' houses in the Masoretic, but not fathers' houses in the Septuagint. It just says houses of their families. Verse 21 of the Masoretic, Gershon was of Gershon was the family of the Libnites and the family of the Shemites. These are the families of the Gershonites. Septuagint, to Gedson belongs the family of Lobani. And the family of Semai, these are the families of Gedson. Verse 22, those who were counted of them according to the number of all the males from a month old and upward, even those who were counted of them were 7,500. The Septuagint says the numbering of them according to the number of every male from a month old and upwards, their numbering was 7,500. So the number is the same there. At least right there it is. We'll see what we have later on. Verse 23, the families of the Gershonites shall encamp behind the tabernacle westward. The Septuagint says the sons. So this is notice in the Septuagint it says sons instead of families or children, whereas it's, so the Septuagint makes it, gendered to male, the sons, whereas the Masoretic doesn't have the genders there, but just simply families. But it's vice versa when it comes to the father's houses. In the Masoretic, it's gendered to the fathers, whereas in the Septuagint, it's just simply the families. And doesn't mention the fathers. Yeah, so verse 23, Septuagint, the sons of Gedson shall encamp westward behind the tabernacle. Verse 24, Eliasaph, this is the Masoretic, Eliasaph, the son of Lael, shall be the prince of the fathers' houses of the Gershonites. Verse 24, in the Septuagint, and the ruler of the household of the family of Gedson was Eliasaph, the son of Dael. The son of Dael. Okay, so it's Lael in the Masoretic, but Dael in the Septuagint. Could it be that one of the scribes that transmitted these scriptures mistaken the Dalet for a Lamed, like the Hebrew letter D for a Hebrew letter L, or vice versa, mistaken the Lamed for a Dalet? Could it be? Just asking. Mario asked the question, what books shall I be reading, or should I be reading the original manuscripts? Where can I buy it? Very good question. This particular book here, the hard copy book that I was reading, this has the Samaritan and the one column is the Samaritan, other column is the Masoretic, or I think I got it backwards. That was the Samaritan column, that's the Masoretic column, and it highlights or emboldens the differences between the two. I just picked this up on Amazon, so it's called the Israelite Samaritan version of the Torah. So that's where I got this one from. I don't get anything for saying this, by the way. But online you can get you can pull it up online, and I think probably various apps as well, where you can pull it up like this and do your own comparisons. What I'm using today is ebible.org, and I just search for I'm using the WEB on one side and the Brenton Septuagint on the other side. You can also use Bible Hub as well. Actually, you can use them all. You can use Bible, Blue Letter Bible, Bible Hub, eBible. All of those ones, they all work. Let's see here. I was looking at the appendix here. We have some extra. And this book is not exhaustive either when it comes to the differences between the manuscripts. I've noticed that it doesn't have all the differences in it. It does have some major differences, but not all of them. Yeah, thank you for your question there, Mario. Mario says, "Okay, thanks." Well, thank you. Kim says, boy, if you're new here, you need to wait 60 minutes before asking a question. It should not be like that, Kim. It should not be like that. It says, by the time you ask the question, you are off topic. Frustrating. I've been here since this started, and now you can comment. Sorry to hear that. And it should not be like that. There is a certain waiting period. Yes. Need to vet the trolls, but I'm sorry that you had to wait 60 minutes. As far as last I checked, it was not supposed to be 60 minutes at all. So my apologies, Kim. What was your question? What did you want to ask? In the meantime, let me just double check to make sure that it's... What I got here is 20 minutes, not 60 minutes. Okay, so it should be 20 minutes, not 60 minutes. Rick says, my screen says 20 minutes. Okay. That sounds more like it. Yeah, we have to put some of these boundaries in place for the sake. We got, we want to have a wonderful and peaceful discussion, and a lot of times people just come on and they just, they're not. Unfortunately, there are a lot of trolls out there that are not very benevolent, and so. I do appreciate those who stick around and stick around for the whole thing. This is a long form kind of a study, so it's not something you can just jump in and get a whole lot out of it in 1 minute. This is like a 3-course meal here. So yes, Kim, please let me know what your questions are. I will answer all the questions that you've been waiting to ask. No problem with that. Seek the Lord. Yes, it's helpful to put at Christopher. Yes, thank you. Seek the Lord. Yes, thank you. Yeah, it should not be 60 minutes there, Kim. Okay, verse 25 of the Masoretic, it says, the duty of the sons of Gershon in the tent of meeting shall be the tabernacle, the tent, its covering, the screen for the door of the tent of meeting. In the Septuagint, it says, the charge of the sons of Gedson in the tabernacle of witness was the tent and the veil and the covering of the door of the tabernacle of witness. So the tent, the veil, the covering of the door. Whereas the Masoretic says it's covering the screen for the door of meeting. So it doesn't say, so you see there's extra. It's different anyway here in the Septuagint. Verse 26, Masoretic, the hangings of the court, the screen for the door of the court, which is by the tabernacle and around the altar, and its cords for all its service. Verse 26 in the Septuagint says, and the curtains of the court and the veil of the door of the court, which is by the tabernacle, and the remainder of all its works. Verse 27, and Kohath was the family of Kohath was the family of the Amramites, the family of the Isharites, the family of the Hebronites, the family of the Uzzielites. These are the families of the Kohathites. Septuagint, to Kaath belonged one division. Look at that. So that's different. To Kohath belonged one division, that of Amram, whereas the Masoretic says of Kohath was the family of the Amramites. The Septuagint goes on to say, and another division, that of Issachar, and another division, that of Hebron, and another division, that of Uzziel. These are the divisions of Kaath according to their number. So the Septuagint says division, whereas the Masoretic says family. Verse 28, Masoretic. According to the number of all the males from a month old and upward, there were 8,600 keeping the requirements of the sanctuary. Verse 28 in the Masoretic, or the Septuagint, excuse me. Verse 28 in the Septuagint, every male from a month old and upward, 8,600 keeping the charges of the holy things. So the number is the same, but different wording here. Keeping the charges of the holy things versus keeping the requirements of the sanctuary. Verse 29, Masoretic. The families of the Kohath shall encamp on the south side of the tabernacle. Septuagint, the families, now it says families instead of divisions, of the sons of Kohath shall encamp beside the tabernacle toward the south. So it says beside the tabernacle, whereas the Masoretic doesn't say that. Masoretic, verse 30, the prince of the fathers' houses of the families of the Kohathites shall be Eliasaphan, the son of Uzziel. Septuagint, the chief of the house of the families of the divisions of Kohath was Eliasaphan, the son of Uzziel. Chief versus prince. Divisions versus family. Uzziel versus Uzziel. Uzziel in the Septuagint. Verse 31, their duties shall be the ark, the table, the lampstand, the altars, the vessels of the sanctuary with which they minister, the screen, and all its service. In the Septuagint, and their charge was the ark, the table, the candlestick, the altars, and the vessels of the sanctuary, wherewith they do holy service, and the veil, and all their works. So there's the extra in there as well, talking about the veil. Verse 32, Masoretic, Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, shall be prince of the princes of the Levites, with the oversight of those who keep the requirements of the sanctuary. 32 in the Septuagint, and the chief over the chief of the Levites was Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, appointed to keep the charges of the holy things. Different requirements of the sanctuary in the Septuagint versus charges of the holy things in the requirements of the sanctuary in the Masoretic versus charges of the holy things in the Septuagint. Verse 33. Of Merari was the family of the Mahlites and the family of the Mushites. These are the families of Merari. Verse 33 in the Septuagint, to Merari belonged the family of Muli, M-O-O-L-I, and the family of Musi, M-U-S-I. These are the families of Merari. Different spelling, different pronunciation of the names. Masoretic, verse 34, those who were counted of them according to the number of all the males from a month old and upward were 6,200. The Septuagint, the mustering. So not the counting of them, but the mustering of them according to number, every male from a month old and upwards was 6,050. Wait a second. We have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. $6,200 versus 6,050. So, is this a contradiction? I would say so. It's either one or the other. The total number cannot be 6,200 and 6,050 at the same time. So yes, this is a contradiction between the manuscripts here. If you're new to this, welcome to the wonderful world of the contradictions of the numbers between the manuscripts. There are a lot of them, lots of them. I don't know how many, just guessing, probably, oh, wow, hundreds. Okay. So what do we learn from this? We learn that the transmission of the text wasn't perfect. That's all. Well, we can actually go further than that. We can say we learn that we should not take the text, any text, too perfect, like too literally, because you don't know if we got difference. Like if the numbers differ so much, like this is a difference of 150 people between the two texts. So that's quite a bit. I don't know how a scribe can mix up 6,200 with 6,050, but apparently that's what happened. Just out of curiosity, I know that it wasn't highlighted here in this in the Samaritan, but just out of curiosity, see if it's in here. What does the Samaritan have? So that'd be verse 34. So the Samaritan has 6,200. Okay. So the Samaritan and the Masoretic both say 6,200, whereas the Septuagint says 6,050. So you might say, which one is accurate? Well, we don't know. There's no way to tell. You might say, well, there's 2 against 1 here, so maybe the 6,200 is more accurate. Well, yeah, there may be more of a chance that that's more accurate. However, that doesn't mean that the Septuagint is not the one that's accurate. Because if you think about it, these manuscripts have been transmitted down the line, like down through the grapevine, and the grapevine's been branched off into so many different branches of the transmissions of the manuscripts. It could be that just this one little minority of the transmission of the manuscripts was accurate and perfect, whereas all the other ones were not, because all the other ones were based upon, they're all copies of the 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 copies of someone who made a mistake. So just because we have 2 against 1 doesn't mean that the 2 is necessarily the accurate one. You see? So just because of quantity, the quantity of a manuscript doesn't necessarily mean that it's the most accurate one. Yeah, so it's almost well, given what we have in front of us, it's very hard to tell. Rick says Hebrew gematria Nun 50 and Resh 200 look very similar. Check out the Hebrew letters. Okay, yeah, that's a very good observation, Rick. Thank you for pointing that out. That very well could be the case. Somewheres down the line, thousands of years ago, one of the scribes that was copying the text over, saw a Nun and he thought it was a Resh, or vice versa. He saw a Resh and he thought it was a Nun. Maybe it was late at night and he was just tired and he's like, oh yeah, Nun, but that wasn't a Nun. It was a Resh. It was, yeah. So that very well could be the case, Rick. Very well. Thank you. Doug Mark says, it's always best to read all manuscripts if we don't understand something. I do that a lot. Sometimes I keep notes on it and come back to it later. And coming here helps understand the Bible as well for me. Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, very, very, very good. Definitely. So right now we are comparing the three major families of manuscripts. Like before in the book of Genesis, we were comparing, like, what was it, 5 different manuscripts? We had the Masoretic on the go. We had the Septuagint. We had the Samaritan. We had the Syriac. We had the Targum. We had the Vulgate. So that's 6. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Doug Mark. Verse 35. The princes, this is the Masoretic, the prince of the father's house of the families of Merari was Zuriel, the son of Abihail. They shall encamp on the north side of the tabernacle. Septuagint says, and the head, so not the prince, the head of the house of the families of the division of Merari was Suriel. So not Zuriel, but Suriel, with an S instead of a Z. The son of Abihail, CH instead of an H. They shall encamp by the side of the tabernacle northwards. Verse 36, Masoretic. The appointed duty of the sons of Merari shall be the tabernacle's boards, its bars, its pillars, its sockets, all its instruments, and all its service. The Septuagint says the oversight of the charge of the sons of Merari included the chapiters of the tabernacle and its bars, its pillars, its sockets, and all their furniture and their works. So different. Verse 37, Masoretic. The pillars of the court around it, their sockets, their pins, and their cords. Verse 37 of the Septuagint, and the pillars of the court round about, and their bases, and their pins, and their cords. Verse 38 of the Masoretic. Those who encamp before the tabernacle eastward in front of the tent of meeting toward the sunrise shall be Moses with Aaron and his sons, keeping the requirement of the sanctuary for the duty of the children of Israel. The outsider who comes near shall be put to death. Verse 38 of the Septuagint says, they, not those who encamp, but they that encamp before the tabernacle of witness on the east shall be Moses and Aaron and his sons, keeping the charges of the sanctuary according to the charges of the children of Israel, and the stranger that touches them shall die. So for once we got a little bit shorter there in the Septuagint, a little bit shorter. So it just says keeping the charges of the sanctuary according to the charges of the children of Israel, instead of keeping the requirements of the sanctuary for the duty of the children of Israel. Verse 38, all who were counted of the Levites, this is the Masoretic, all who were counted of the Levites, whom Moses and Aaron counted at the commandment of the Lord by their families, all the males from a month old and upward were 22,000. Septuagint, all the numbering of the Levites, whom Moses and Aaron numbered by the word of the Lord. So by the word of the Lord instead of commandment of the Lord. According to their families, every male from a month old and upwards were 22,000. Verse 40 of the Masoretic. The Lord said to Moses, count all the firstborn males of the children of Israel from a month old and upward, and take the number of their names. Verse 40 of the Septuagint, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, count every firstborn male of the children of Israel from a month old and upwards, and take the number by name. A little bit different. Instead of their names in the Masoretic, it's just simply by name in the Septuagint. Verse 41, Masoretic, you shall take the Levites for me, I am the Lord, instead of all the firstborn from among the children of Israel, and the livestock of the Levites instead of of all the firstborn among the livestock of the children of Israel. So the Septuagint says, and you shall take the Levites for me, I am the Lord, instead of all the firstborn of the sons of Israel, the cattle of the Levites, instead of all the firstborn among the cattle of Israel. Verse 22 in the Masoretic says, Moses counted as the Lord commanded him all the firstborn among the children of Israel. Verse 42 of the Septuagint, Moses counted as the Lord commanded him every firstborn among the children of Israel. Verse 43, Masoretic, all the firstborn males according to the number of names from a month old and upward of those who were counted of them were 22,273. Septuagint, and all the male firstborn in number by name from a month old and upwards were, according to their numbering, 22,273. So the number is the same there. I'll do two verses here since this verse is so short. Verse 44 and 45. Masoretic, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take the Levites instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel, and the livestock of the Levites instead of their livestock, and the Levites shall be mine. I am the Lord. Septuagint, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take the Levites instead of all the firstborn of the sons of Israel, and the cattle of the Levites instead of their cattle, and the Levites shall be mine. I am the Lord. Verse 46 of the Masoretic text. Let's do two. Verse 46 and 47. For the redemption of the 273 of the firstborn of the children of Israel who exceed the number of Levites, you shall take 5 shekels apiece for each one. According to the shekel of the sanctuary, you shall take them. The shekel is 20 gerahs. Septuagint, for the ransoms of the 273, which exceed the Levites in number of the firstborn of the sons of Israel, you shall take 5 shekels a head. 5 shekels a head. Here in the Masoretic it says 5 shekels apiece. Septuagint goes on to say, you shall take them according to the holy didrach. I'm not even sure if I can pronounce this properly. Didrachim, 20 oboli to the shekel. So that's quite different. That is quite different, isn't it? Right. So I have a hunch that this word didrachim is another form of the word drachma. You know, we read in the New Testament, the drachma. That is what I have a hunch, because again we have the consonants drchm, but the vowels are different, right? Al says it does, responding to Doug Mark, it does. So coming here helps, Doug Mark says, coming here helps understand the Bible as well for me. Al says it does, and this is my favorite Bible study YouTube channel ever. Well, thank you very much, Al. I appreciate that. Blessings. Glad it's a blessing to you. Ali says, Salam all, just had a chance to join. Salam, welcome. Blessings, shalom. Peace multiplied to you. Good to see you. Yeah, so we're comparing the manuscripts by popular demand. I did a poll earlier. In the book of Numbers, we're looking at, right now we're just looking at the Masoretic versus the Septuagint. Yeah, so the didrachum, I think that is probably drachma. Now it says 20 oboli to the shekel. So this oboli must be like a gera. Let's see how different it is. Right. Verse 48 of the Masoretic, and you shall give the money with which the remainder is redeemed to Aaron and to his sons. So this is referring to Exodus chapter 30, folks, the atonement money. Verse 48 of the Septuagint, and you shall give the money to Aaron and his sons, the ransom of those who exceed in number among them. Verse 49 of the Masoretic, Moses took the redemption money. So there you go. Redemption money, atonement money, same thing. We read this earlier in Exodus chapter 30. Moses took the redemption money from those who exceeded the number of those who were redeemed by the Levites. Septuagint says, Moses took the silver, the ransom of those that exceeded the number, the ransom of those that exceeded in number the redemption of the Levites. There's a footnote here. It says the number redeemed by the Levites. Okay. Verse 50 of the Masoretic text. From the firstborn of the children of Israel, he took the money, 1,365 shekels, according to the shekel of the sanctuary. The footnote here. A shekel, it's hard to read here. A shekel is about 10 grams or about 0.35 ounces. So 1,365 shekels is about 13.65 kilograms or about 30 pounds. 30 pounds of silver. Wow. So verse 50 in the Septuagint, he took the silver from the firstborn of the sons of Israel, 1,365 shekels, according to the holy shekel. Now notice, all of a sudden it says shekel. So isn't this weird? So up here in verse 47, it's holy didrachum, whereas in the Masoretic it says shekel. Oh, wait a second. Sorry. Holy didrachum. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it says holy didrachum here in verse 47, and then it says shekel later on in the very last part of that verse, whereas in the Masoretic it says shekel for both, all through. It doesn't say holy didrachum. It says shekel and shekel. Shekel and shekel. Yeah, so in verse 50, we go back to the shekels in the Septuagint. So it says here in the Septuagint, he took the silver from the firstborn of the sons of Israel, 1,365 shekels, according to the holy shekel. So it says according to the holy shekel instead of shekel of the sanctuary in the Masoretic. Yeah, different. Verse 51, and Moses gave the redemption money to Aaron and to his sons according to the Lord's word, as the Lord commanded Moses. And verse 51 in the Septuagint says, and Moses gave the ransom of them that were over to Aaron and his sons by the word of the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. So the Masoretic says, and Moses gave the redemption money, whereas the Septuagint says, and Moses gave the ransom of them that were over. So it doesn't say of them that were over. It doesn't say that doesn't have that in the Masoretic. To Aaron and his sons, according to the word of the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. All right. Well, I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna wrap it up tonight. Tomorrow, Lord willing, we'll get into chapter 4. Yeah. So for those of you who are more interested in the number discrepancies and such, we're going to see more of that as we go on, especially once we get into First and Second Chronicles. It is just shocking. It really is. It really is shocking. And I know that we have people. You have those who venerate their Bible canon so much. They're the ones that will say, "Oh, but this one over here counted the young men, and this one didn't." Well, where does it say that? It doesn't say that. They just make it up. They make it up to make it work. Well, in Chronicles, they counted everyone that was born from, they counted everyone from 1 to 20 years old and above, whereas in Kings, they didn't count that. That's not what it says. That's not what it says. Just like how we said earlier when it comes to Luke versus Matthew, the genealogies, they have to do something. They have to fabricate something to support their inerrancy, Bible canon veneration that they are engaged in, unfortunately. So we want the truth no matter what, right? We want the truth no matter what. We want to dig into the historicity of it. We want to know if we can possibly ascertain what the most accurate is, we want that. Amen. Yes. Rick says Chronicles is a little questionable. Yeah, I do understand that Chronicles is more like a midrash of First and Second Kings. So yeah, I do. It's my understanding as of now that that Chronicles is almost like a targum within the Bible, if you will. So yeah. If you were to ask me which one I would take over the other, Kings or Chronicles, well, I like some things in Chronicles, but I'd say probably Chronicles is a little bit more on the looser side when it comes to the transmission of it and the perhaps even the authorship of it, because of it being a rehash of everything that came before. Almost like Mark and Matthew, right? So it's typically believed that Mark came first and then Matthew came after that, and Matthew just copied from Mark, which seems to be the case a lot for most. Well, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of it. Yeah. Thank you, Rick. Doug Mark says, Al Throwback, this is my favorite Bible study YouTube channel as well. I am so thankful to be here. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I'm glad you're here as well. You guys are amazing. You guys are awesome. Ali says, indeed, Chris is amazing. Love his knowledge and his demeanor. Even if you come from a different faith, he is very welcoming. Respect. Thank you, Ali. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that, folks. As you know, I get a lot of negativity here, so I appreciate your positive feedback. That's awesome. I appreciate that. All right. Yeah, so that'll be it for tonight, folks. So what did we see here with the just a summary of the differences between the manuscripts? Well, the names were different, spelt different, pronounced different, and sometimes completely different. We have additions or subtractions, things that don't really make a whole lot of difference between the two for the most part. But we do have that one number that stands out. That was it, 22,050 versus 22,200. That was a big one. 22,000. Let's see. Sorry, 6,000. I'm getting the negative. So that would be back in verse 34. Verse 34. We have in the Masoretic 6,200 versus 6,050 in the Masoretic, or excuse me, in the Septuagint. So that was a big one. So if this is new to you, welcome to the wonderful world of manuscript variations. It's awesome, actually. I do enjoy picking out this stuff. It's almost like forensic science, scripture forensics, if you will. digging up the truth, digging up the differences. Doug Mark says, looking forward to tomorrow. I really enjoyed tonight. I'll keep praying for your recovery as I've been every night. Thank you, Doug Mark. I appreciate that. Yes. Has been a slight bit of discomfort here tonight doing this, but yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Keep me in prayer. That would be amazing. Thank you. Al says, always looking forward to it. Amazing work always. Thank you, Al. I appreciate that. And Matthew says, good teaching, Lila Tove, and blessings. Thank you, Matthew. All right, you guys are amazing. You guys are world changers. Keep on keeping on. Keep on calling on him, and he will show you great and mighty things, things that you don't know. Rick says the 200 and the 50 was definitely a scribe needing glasses to distinguish between a Nun and a Resh. Very well could have been, Rick. Very well could have been. Yeah, all right. Okay. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow evening. Well, it could be day wherever you are in the world. I know we have people listening from different parts of the world. But we're going to start regular time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, that is. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you guys then, Lord willing. Seek the Lord says, thank you for your time, brother. Continue to get good rest. God bless you and all here richly and abundantly. See you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Seek the Lord. Appreciate that. Blessings multiplied back to you and your family. Ali says, good night. Good night, Ali. Have a wonderful, peaceful night. And Rick says, Lila Tov, shalom. Good night, Rick. Shalom, shalom. Okay, we'll see you guys then. Love you guys. I pray the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face to shine upon you, lift up his countenance upon you, and give you wonderful, wonderful shalom. Amen, amen. We'll see you guys tomorrow.